Welcome to WOW, the Woman of the Week podcast series by PharmaVOICE. This episode was made possible by a sponsorship from Micromass. For more information on Micromass, please visit micromass.com. In this episode, Taryn Grome, editor-in-chief of PharmaVOICE magazine, meets with Ubavka DeNoble, MD, Chief Commercial Officer at PharXL Informatics.
Dr. DeNoble, welcome to the PharmaVOICE WOW podcast program. We're so excited to have you be one of our honored executives.
Oh, Taryn, thank you so much. Thank you for having me here, and I'm really excited that we will have our conversation today.
Ubavka, you were recently named Chief Commercial Officer of Informatics at PharXL. Can you tell me about your new role?
Oh, yes, I'm very excited about this. As the Chief Commercial Officer of the PharXL Informatics, I'm responsible for commercial strategy and development of PharXL Informatics organization. My focus is related to marketing, sales, product development, and I'm trying to work with my customer and work on the business growth and try to increase the market share of my organization. But this is not so dry. Actually, it is always exciting that you analyze and interpret changing market and industry dynamics and industry trends. And I think that this is something, that everyone is talking about. And then that you can determine the effect of the current business that you have and use this information and work with your team to have right commercial strategy and tactics. And I'm really excited about this. Every time when I'm doing and starting to build something from the beginning, I have this sense that I am privileged to have such assignment, and then you start with this basic stuff, and you like to do the development of strategic sales and marketing. But the beauty of this process is that you have opportunity to work with team, and you are focused on this collective work, where you need to set up priorities, you need to set up standards, and at the same time, you need to motivate your team and ensure effective control of the commercial team results. And this is where you are building successful team. Every team that starts to work in such a way is actually destined to be successful.
It sounds like you have to wear a lot of hats.
This is very new. This is why I'm telling you, and actually we clearly define pillars that we have in our company, and one of three is commercial pillar. And I got opportunity really to work with my colleagues that are responsible for operations and my colleague who is responsible for technology. And I was very excited, telling that, in my life I had quite a few similar assignments, but when I have opportunity to handpick my team, and when I have opportunity to guide them and make them motivated and enthusiastic, because I think that you must have team that will buy in your concept and your vision. And I think that when you have opportunity to build something, this is absolutely fantastic.
It sounds exciting. Let's talk about that vision. What do you hope to accomplish within the coming year?
I have two goals. First one is to set up everything that I just shared with you, and I think that this is not small assignment. This is assignment that required a lot of cross-functional work, a lot of thinking, and at the same time You need to bring business in the company and to be sure that you have commercial team results that are expected based on the company strategy. But regarding long-term vision, regarding technology impact on the industry and patients, I am a strong believer that the future of drug development will be based on real-time patient data. This is why I'm so excited to be on this side right now, because I am a physician. I work for many years on drug development, and now I got opportunity to observe and find out what is going to be the best technology that we can apply to clinical trials to accelerate drug development, to simplify this process. I don't want to say that we will make drug development more cost-effective, but certain stages of drug development we will for sure make more cost-effective, and it will help us to better recognize the good candidates for drug development. I think that technology is going to be based on real-time data. I also know that it's not going to happen tomorrow. Because right now, and I had opportunity to work on some trials within my company, we have trials that are incorporating variables. And I think in industry, prevalence is approximately 10 to 15%. And we use mainly exploratory data. But I believe that we will move from this exploratory data to secondary and eventually primary endpoints, because using technology and using sensor and variables, because everyone is talking about virtual trials, is going to be our reality, and I definitely want to be there. And I vividly remember when we started to talk about devices, and you remember that we didn't have very good devices, and now the quality of patient devices is improved significantly, and what is happening right now, many of these devices are recognized by FDA.
Right.
And this is something that was so exciting. And I believe that having ability to monitor and prove that medication has positive impact on patient in a real life, and then that you have a combination of, I like to call this physiological data, you will have opportunity actually to really assess effectiveness of the drug. So far it was under certain conditions, and we talk about safety profile, we talk about efficacy, but how this impacted and how effective was the drug on patient day-to-day life was completely different story.
I think it's exciting. I think that your take on how real-time data is going to transform the industry is spot on. At the same time, I do have to play devil's advocate and say, are companies, are the pharma sponsors, are they ready for this? Are patients ready for this? So what are some of the challenges you still have to face and overcome?
I think, that we all understand that you will always have challenges. And I had opportunity to talk with some of my clients, that is using some exploratory data with certain devices. And everyone has understanding, that this is not going to be a process that we will go through relatively quickly. But on the other side, you need to understand what are tactical challenges that you will face, and I think that many smart companies are investing in this. Your question was related, how are we ready for this? I will answer in the following way. Companies, they understand the importance of digitalization. They understand the importance of variables. When you talk with them and you spend a lot of time talking with them verbally, they're all ready to embrace this. In reality, this is a little bit different. Regarding patients, I believe, because we have millennial generation, and in general, we can agree that younger patient population are going to be more receptive to use variables. But I think, since this process is going to be continuum, that many of these representative of young generation today will be targeted patient population. I think that you also have issue that is related to geographies, because it is different what's happening in the United States than in some underdeveloped countries, but this is a completely different story. And then you have to ask yourself, okay, what we will have? We will have sensors, we will record data, we will have very good and clear data sets. Taryn, I'm also very focused on telemedicine, and I'm following very carefully what's happening there. Simply because I believe that this is going to be very important part of the clinical trials going forward. And we will see this is going to be very important, especially for patients that are facing some rare diseases and that are living in some places that are not easily acceptable.
Sure.
And if I can bring one more aspect that I want us to talk, is aspect related to partnering and evolution of pharma tech partnership. Because we are not talking about this in the way that we talk about other aspects of digitalization. But I think that this is happening in front of our eyes. And for me, the outcome of this partnering is going to be very important to find out really what's going to happen. Because machine learning and artificial intelligence, everyone is talking about this. Pharma is making partnership with small startup companies. Sometimes this is done in the way that this is not publicly announced. Everyone has expectation, and you remember what's happened when we had this situation with IBM Watson, and when they believe that machine can be better in diagnostic process, and then we know what's happened after that. But I'm just interested, and I don't know what is your opinion, in which extent this digital company and are going to invest in expertise, because my expectation was that they will pull in much more subject matter experts than what they did so far. They have them. They have more, significantly more than before, because they realize that they must have them if they would like, to do certain things. But do you believe that this is enough?
I think it's going to be interesting to watch. I too, am cautiously optimistic, and I do hear a lot of chatter about AI and machine learning and companies are jumping in. But I have seen this happen before, and I've been long enough in the business to have seen what happened with EDC back, 15 years ago when electronic data capture was supposed to be the panacea. And yet 10 years later, clinical trials are still being conducted on paper. So I am cautiously optimistic, and I think it's going to take a few companies to really have some early wins, and we'll see then what happens. I think that's what's going to be key. So, and I did want to touch upon the point you made about some of the underdeveloped countries. I think there's an opportunity there because if they're starting from nothing, then they're not going to bring in an old process, right? They're going to come in with what the latest is. So they may already have an advantage in some ways from some other countries. So we'll see what happens. I too am watching what's going on.
Yeah. This is really good point, But when I'm thinking about this, I don't know, in which extent young generation in certain countries. I'm not talking about, if you talk about China, if you talk about China and cities in China and rural China, you have two different aspects.
Absolutely.
But I'm thinking if we have this orientation, especially for drug development, how many countries we will be able to use. And I'm carefully following this because access to technology is so appealing, especially for this young generation, that I expect that we can have a really positive effect, more than anyone originally anticipated.
I agree. I think it's going to allow larger groups to participate in clinical trials, which would then exponentially improve the process. Instead of doing it one by one, maybe we can do 10 by 10 or 20 by 20 by doing it in a different way. And I think that there are certain rules, obviously, in place, but with technology, some of those old paradigms don't need to even exist anymore because there are, and I hate to use that trite phrase, but there are some game changers out there.
Absolutely. And we are witnessing this every single day. I can tell you, I talk with clients every single day for different reasons than you do, but there is a strong realization. And one phenomenon that is actually present today, that we have a technology that is well developed, but not embraced by industry in extent that you will expect when everything started.
Interesting. Yeah. I think that there's a ways to go, but I do see, I am, as I said, cautiously optimistic. One of the areas that you guys are really looking at too is the impact that technology is having on post-marketing patient engagement, and talk about why that's important. Because I think we focus a lot on the clinical trial, and then once the trial is done and the product is out in the market, not that it gets forgotten, but there's less attention. So why is post-marketing patient engagement so important?
I think, that digitalization, and let us talk about virtual trials, they have a very positive impact on patients with different diseases. And what I see is that we will have opportunity to observe patients in their natural environment, and then that we will collect some data, and I told you, physiological data, that will give us a very good sense about effectiveness of the drug. Because as we know, drug development is not anymore about regulatory approval. It is about making formulary, but even when you make formulary, you have competitive drugs, and with collection of this type of data, you will be able to prove, together with witnessing of the patient, that your drug is very effective.
Interesting. And what are so is this an increasing focus of Parexel Informatics in that post-marketing arena?
Listen, we are thinking about this as everyone. We are trying to work with our partners and to have a certain partnering with our client, but this is a work that requires, as you know, many tactical tuning and virtual trials, and this surveillance of the patient after drug is approved is definitely our focus, but in extent that I will tell that this is number one focus, we still didn't reach this level.
Fantastic. I want to switch tacks a little bit. Could speak to you about industry trends all day, but I really want to talk about you now a little bit. And I want to hear about your journey and how your career has evolved over time. I know you're originally from Sarajevo. Talk to me about how having this international perspective has influenced your career journey. Because you didn't get that accent from Jersey, I know. So.
Oh my gosh, listen, when this is a journey, but my story is one of the million stories that you have in the United States. I came in 1992. It was a time when it was war in Yugoslavia, and my husband is Croatian, and I'm Serb from Bosnia. And that was not a good combination at this time. We had opportunity that, presented itself because my husband was here collaborator at Duke, and this is how we came in United States. Taryn, I would like to tell you how I had a good vision, what I would like to do, and how I would like to develop in United States. Being physician, you have to go through USMLE and then to go through residency again, what I didn't have a time to go through residency again. I'm board certified in internal medicine. And at this time, I had my son, and I had a new country. I had, to adjust to all this, and then opportunity presented itself, and I joined the industry. I have to admit that fact that I didn't know anything about corporate world on one side, and fact that you have this, I will call this survival instinct, actually was very beneficial for me, because I didn't understand or accept obstacles that you are facing when you are in some new environment. I knew that I need to work hard. I knew medicine. When I joined the industry as a product safety associate, it was entry-level position. It was a lot of differential diagnosis. I enjoyed my work because you are testing new medication, then you compare safety profile of a comparator. For me, it was absolutely amazing and entertaining, and it was realization that I'm working very hard, and obviously my productivity was significantly higher, but not because I wanted this intentionally. I thought, well, when you are in America, whatever came on your table, you have to finish this. And I remember that first years when I worked in industry, I used to stay in my office from 7 to 7, sometimes even more, because I was processing serious adverse events that are related to clinical trials. My point is, you need to have this drive. And you need to find things that you like to do, because every job has some aspects that are not very appealing and some that you really enjoy. And I always try to do things that I don't like first. And this is my philosophy all my life. All subjects that I didn't like, I did first. And then you have to enjoy things that you really like. I grew up through ranks really very quickly, and it was time that coincided with the growth of industry. It was a lot of opportunities, and I always used to say that I stay in one office and had opportunity to go through several mergers and acquisitions. And every single merger and acquisition and change of management, I learned something new. And I relatively quickly, came to vice president level. And after that, I really thought, and it was probably something that I didn't know, is that my work and outcome of my work, that it will define my future and my professional development. In other words, I didn't understand importance of certain things like lobbying. And I made all mistakes that females that are in my industry and some other fields are making. You actually waited somebody to recognize you. And of course, as we all know, this is not the right way.
That's right. That is true. So, I mean, you've been with Parexel now for a little over 8 years, about?
Yeah, it is about 8 years. It is a phenomenal company. Terren, I got in Parexel. I came in Parexel after my previous company merged, was acquired, and I really didn't have some extraordinary expectation. I just wanted to be part of big company, to see how it is and to have some stability and to have opportunity to grow. This company actually gave me such exposure, opened so many doors, and I'm even today absolutely fascinated with profile of the people that we have in this company. And, there is not many companies that you can work 8 years and still be surprised. And I know that you know some of our people and that you understand what I'm talking about.
Yes.
And Parexel is, and with introduction of this diversity and inclusion initiative that is here 5 years, you can see how company is transformed, how people think differently, how people respect these cultural differences. Because culture that I'm bringing on board and culture that you have in United States are not the same, but they are very comparable. And I think that this diversity is actually very important for us.
That's wonderful. I do talk to a lot of women who are involved with their company's inclusion and diversity employee resource groups. And I do know that Parexel has made some tremendous strides, as you said, in the last 5 years. So it's very encouraging to hear somebody at your level seeing that there is such a difference being made.
Yes, and listen, fact, I thought we are listed as one of the top 100 companies to work for.
It's amazing.
Four.
Yeah, it's good to go to work at a company that believes in the same things you do.
And I can tell you, when I put all elements that they can use, for this judgment, there is only one aspect that is really striking, and this is diversity, this is inclusion, this is a respectful approach to all people that are part of our company. And this is something that makes me proud. And I have to tell you, when I go to work, I'm happy to go to work. And my life philosophy is, if I don't like to go to work, there is no money that somebody can try to compensate for this. But if I like to go to work, then this is a different story. And this company is such that I like to go to work, and I'm so proud of unbelievable, smart people that are top down, that you can meet every single day, and then you have some undiscovered jewel, and then you try to process this and to make this very, very shiny.
That's fantastic. To bring our conversation back to the beginning when we started talking, and all the things that are on your plate and putting together the teams that are going to be necessary to execute on your vision in your new role. How would you describe your leadership style?
Well, I have to confess, I always was, when they did surveys, they always told that I'm very demanding, that I have high standards, but that I lead by example, and that I am fair, and that I don't have hidden agenda. To describe my leadership, I will tell you that after so many years of experience, I can describe this in following way. I like smart people. I absolutely prefer to have 3 A+ people than people that are below this level, with full understanding that you need, that in many instances you have bell curve. But I like to explain the people what are objectives. I like to tell them that this is what is our mission, because our mission is to help patients. Our mission is to do this with heart and with belief that we can do it, to energize them and to set up expectations. When you have a team that buy in, there is absolutely no single thing that is impossible. And sorry.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
This is why I believe that, for example, when you go through changes, and you always go through changes, and you have turmoil, I don't have a turnover. I have a very loyal team. Everyone is going to tell you that I'm demanding, but turnover in my businesses that I run, over 20 years, was minimal.
Yeah, you can't ask for better than that. In one of the other questions I ask is if there's one word that best describes you. I know the word I would choose, but what is the word that you think that best describes you?
Well, it is a very tricky question.
It's all the questions I ask are tricky questions.
Yeah, this is a very tricky question, and if I have to describe this in one word, it will be fearless.
And my word was courageous. So there you go.
Okay, courageous and fearless. But when I'm talking about fearless, I think that I'm very pragmatic. I need to understand circumstances. I am a believer that you need to try certain things. And I always tell my people, how you know if you didn't try? And I also think that if certain things happen and if some people did certain things, that there is no reason that my team and myself cannot repeat this and introduce something that will make us even more effective. And I think that during this process, you need to preserve your integrity. And when people trust you, and when they know that you are doing something because this is in our interest of the company, but ultimately interest of the patients, then this is a winning game.
Well,
as
I
you
agree.
Can see, I'm
okay.
passionate about this, very passionate about it.
It comes through. To put a bow on our conversation, what one accomplishment could you identify as the wow moment that helped shape your career?
I don't think that this is a one moment, but I think what shaped my career is exposure. Every time when I went outside of the comfort zone, I discovered some completely new world. And when I was in medical field and did safety, was medical monitor, and things of such nature, it was a world where I was very comfortable. Then when opportunities called me to go outside of my comfort zone, I realized that there is so many different things, and when you combine your previous knowledge and then acquired skills, if you want, then you open so many new doors. Personally, what I think is my biggest achievement, this is my participation in the Women Leadership Board. This is a Women and Public Policy program at Harvard Kennedy School, where I had opportunity, and I'm sure that you know many of these people, to meet these exceptional women, starting from Iris Bonet, who is academic dean of Kennedy School, or new chair Carol Hamilton, and people that really have amazing biographies behind them, and to be part of such a group and to be part of their meeting and to be part of the conversation that we have about the position of the woman today and what we did and what we would like to do is definitely, for me personally, my biggest achievement. And when I think about myself, since I focus my energy on developing young people, because I always have a few people that I mentor, not because they need my mentoring, I just want to help them not to make same mistakes as I made. And I think, that every time when I elevate them to the next level, I feel such gratitude, and, I think that this is one of things that will definitely define, this is pretentious, my legacy. But if I want this to be something to be my legacy, it is that I help development of undiscovered talents.
That's excellent, and that is a mic drop moment. I want to thank you so much for being so open and transparent and explaining your vision for the organization and for your passion in developing others. You are a fearless leader, and it's an honor to know you, and it was great fun having you part of the podcast program today. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to this episode of WOW, the Woman of the Week podcast series. And thanks again to Micromass for sponsoring this program. For more information on Micromass, please visit micromass.com. We also encourage you to listen to additional episodes at pharmavoice.com/wow. This 2019 program is copyrighted by PharmaLinks LLC.